And this all comes down to, and this will be our final point for this, and I'll answer any questions you have, is that this is really about leadership succession. That everybody works with a partner or a stunt double or a second in command. And that second in command is getting training and becoming 10% better than the person before them, right? And we just keep increasing the efficacy and the value of our organization. And we know that's not happening as well as it could. What other questions do you have or thoughts as you're a year and a half out?
You first, when you become the district governor, in that process, you realize, well, oh my gosh, this is a huge, undaunting task. So what's important is putting together a team. And I'm just curious how you put your team together, what you looked for, and how you developed that.
Yeah. I look for three things. I look for people who are resourceful, coachable, and good communicators. And if you don't have those three things, I might still want to work with you, but other people that have those three things are going to be moving up first. I didn't want you in the position necessarily because you were there before, or that you've been there a long time. In fact, sometimes that was a reason to get somebody new, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did it with malice. I never did it with my own personal agenda. I always did it in the best interest, long-term interest, sometimes short-term interest of the district. Quick example, AGs, assistant governors in our part of the Rotary world, as you know, are asked to serve 3-year terms. And sometimes those AGs get appointed. They either the person appointing them doesn't know them very well, or the AG is not really ready for the job, but they take it anyway because they think it's an honor and they can kind of cakewalk it. And so I had inherited some AGs, not only from the governor before me, but probably the governor even before that. And I was asking around, and you get feedback, not just from the AGs, you get feedback from the clubs. Like, I haven't seen my AG in 2 years. And I'm taking notes, right? Not because I need to play gotcha, but I want the best. Jim Collins said in the book, Good to Great, there's that outside reference I just told you about. He says you got to get the right people on the bus, and you got to get the right people in the right seats on that bus. And so the AGs were on the right bus. They weren't in the right seat. They weren't good AGs. They weren't even showing up to their clubs, which is like the minimum standard for getting any kind of a approval rating from anybody.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in a spot, right? I'm either going to inherit this impotent AG. Let's just use one. There were a lot of people that weren't doing a good job on the leadership team. And I could either weather the storm, and I could be a good guy and not offend anybody, and I could just go along to get along and have an average year, or I could do what was best for everybody and somehow find a way to fill that spot with somebody that could maybe do a better job. And so I had a few heart-to-hearts with people, and I would call an AG, for example, and I said, how's it going? Pretty much knowing the answer to the question, but I want to hear what they say. And there's an old interview technique called ask why 5 times, because sometimes people need to hear the same question 5 different ways before you get to the closer version of the truth. So the first answer was everything's going great. And the second question was something like, how is it going with your AG responsibilities? Oh, great again. Great. So you're getting out to visit the clubs then? Oh, yeah. Well, fourth question, how many times a quarter are you visiting with your clubs? And then, the answer is, it's quiet. And they're trying to figure out how to answer me without embarrassing themselves. Mind you, I already know the answer. And here's what I found out, that a lot of them didn't want to be AG anymore. I mean, do you believe what people say or what they do?
Right.
And so very quickly in the conversation, I would say, look, I appreciate you being straight up with me. And I understand that this isn't working for you. You've got some challenges at work that keep you from showing up to Rotary Club meetings as often as you'd like to. I didn't say as often as you should. I didn't say as often as you promised. I said as often as you would like to. And maybe it's time for to have somebody else serve in the role so that they can at least show up to the clubs and do the AG thing. And I'll say with 50% of the people I talk to, really, you would do that for me? Like they were relieved because they knew they weren't doing a good job. And I didn't do this to be a bad cop. I didn't do it to be any kind of cop. I did it because I wanted to have a team that functioned so that I could leave the district better than I found it. And there was no way I could do that if I left everybody in that bus seat. I probably did not make a lot of friends in that way. You know, there were some people that thought maybe I was after their job or something. It couldn't be further from the truth. And it breaks my heart that some of those people thought that about me, but I just thought it was the right thing to do at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to do it with grace and diplomacy and straight up with everybody. I didn't do anything behind anybody's back, you know. But I think if you just take whatever they give you and you don't make it your own, you're doomed to an average year. We wanted you to be governor. The committee, the nominating committee, selected you as governor because they want you to be Collyer Smith. They want you to bring all that you can to the position. They don't want you to just, you know, float like a stick down the river. They wanted a governor with a rudder and a motor and an engine and a compass. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, this has been very helpful. And I just want to make sure resourceful, coachable. What was the third one?
Well, I said communication earlier, but how about decisive? It's even more pointed. Decisive. Make up your mind. You're either doing something, you're not doing it. You know, this ambivalence, I'm getting around to it. You know, the assignment was due a week ago Friday. You know, I'm almost finished with it. That's not helpful to me.
Right.
You know, we have deadlines for a reason. It sounds like I'm a hard ass, but I'm really not. I'm just like, just do what you say you were going to do. You know? And then you'll hear this a lot as governor, you know, well, it's just a volunteer organization. You know, I don't even have to do this. I'm like, yeah, but you said you were going to do it. What, does that count for anything? And that wasn't the first time they heard that from me. I opened the year, like we had a meeting with all the AGs and it was an overnight and treated them to a dinner and, you know, get to know kind of a thing. We played some pool and stuff, had some fun. And that's when they first started, you know, getting to know me and my philosophy a little bit. You know, I'm glad you're aboard. I'm going to expect you to do some stuff.
Great.
Be assigned a lead AG for the first time ever. You may be hearing that term. I don't know how effective it is in 6380 right now, or if they're still doing it.
They are.
But one of the things, the first year was the 1617. Because what happened, we found out was that a lot of times the AGs were like this mysterious group of people and nobody really knew who was in charge or what was going on or who was doing a good job as AG, right? And I wanted somebody to own it. It was Nick Castile that year, I think. I asked him to be, I'm not quite sure about that, but I think it might have been Aaliyah McDonald, forgive me, I can't remember. But I wanted somebody to be the face of the AGs because I knew that if we could spotlight somebody who was really kicking it, that they would not only inspire the team that year, but they would have these upwardly mobile club presidents wanting to be AG so they could be like Aaliyah or be like Nick. And then, of course, if the governor does a good job several years later, governors want to be like Michael back in the day. And Brenda Tipton is our great district governor this year. Brenda is inspiring people. I just told her the other day, you're inspiring people and you don't even know it yet. But in 2 years, someone will say, I put my hat in to be district governor because of you, Brenda. And it's such a good feeling.
Yeah, she's wonderful to work with.
Yeah. And you know, you don't want it to go the other way where a bunch of people are unimpressed with governor after governor and decide not to try for the top spot because it seemed like such a flaccid, unrewarding position, you know.
Right.
You don't want that kind of a reputation. But I'm proud of you, and you're certainly asking good questions, and that you initiated this call today. I really appreciate that, and thank you for letting us record it. Hopefully, it helps other incoming leaders understand the lay of the land and some of the things that are necessary to improve our great organization. Rotary is the greatest service organization in the world. And we can only maintain that birth by keeping our standards high. Anything else I can help you with today?
This covers quite a lot of ground. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. This is Rotary District 6380, everybody. We are in Zone 28. So if you want to know more about Collier's activities, and I'm Public Image Chair for Zone 28 right now here in 2021. You can check us out on the Zone 28 and 32 Facebook group, also the District 6380 Facebook group. Collyer, I look forward to working with you, man, and thank you very much for all you're about to do.
Thank you. And I appreciate your time. Thanks, Michael.